Welcome to Behind the Story, the show that explores the pivotal moments, lessons, and big visions of entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, leaders, and influencers redefining what's possible. I'm Jelani, your host and guide. Let's begin.
Hey, Joe, good to see you. Thank you for taking the time here to chat with me on Behind the Story. Really looking forward to our conversation. From the brief research I've done on your company and your background, you seem to be a very intriguing individual. I mean, your worldwide travels and everything you've done. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you. For those of people that seeing this for the first time or meeting you for the first time, how would you describe what you do and what concepts digital marketing is all about?
Well, there's several layers to that. I was an international hairdresser for years and in front of the camera for years. And then about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I decided to go behind the camera when social media was really, starting to get going. And I was representing a very large company and I was doing a lot of lives in the back and they were interviewing with these very large magazines in the front. At the time, I was the lead, but they were bringing these new teams in and I was getting more attention, as far as social media goes, with the amount of people watching me versus the interviews with these large magazines. And I said, I'm onto something here, and it was video and it was social media. And that's how we started Concepts Digital Marketing.
Okay. And when you say you were in front of the camera, what were you doing?
Oh, God. I mean, I was educational videos, interviews. I mean, any major show, New York, the LA, the Chicago, I'd be the one to go on the camera and talk about the company, brag about the new product, whatever were delivering that day. Magazines, if we had like the large awards, I would be the one to either give award away or accept it for the company, along with some other good friends of mine that represented the company.
So sort of like the on-screen personality, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We made a lot of history in the beauty industry. Yeah, it was awesome. We turned it into a rock show, rock concert, and so we really put a dent in that thing. Let's put it that way. We launched something called the Chi Iron, and that was 33, 34 years ago, and we were literally went from like a really small hair color company into the largest tool company in the world
Okay.
and which is the Farouk Systems, the Chi Iron, and we blew that thing up all over the world, and it was amazing. We had a really good time doing it, and made a lot of money doing it, and it was fun. And then I just always been in the sales and marketing part of the world. I was doing it from the platform stage, but at the end of the day, it was sales and marketing. Whether I'd be in front of the camera doing a how-to video or speaking to people on the stage about the product, but in a very how can I put it this way, energetic way. We called it edutainment, where we
Hmm.
educate and entertain at the same time. And edutainment became a deal that was a force to be reckoned with because nobody saw that coming in the beauty industry. No one saw people coming in with rock and roll music, slamming the hair 100 miles an hour. And then from there, like I said, it morphed. We morphed into concept digital marketing, and then that's when social media and video was just kind of new for social media. We're talking 10, 11 years ago, and we were just on the forefront of that. We were early.
What was it that drew you towards the marketing? Was it curiosity? Was it opportunity? Was it something deeper than that? Like, what was the pull
You
for
know,
you to get behind the screen?
when I realized that we were the ones doing all the marketing information, like we were the ones doing the photo shoots, like when you saw like the Chi Iron for the first time, I did that photo shoot with Shaka Ulamani and Dan Carter, which was Naomi Campbell's photographer.
Mhm.
And when I realized, we're the ones creating all the marketing for this large company, um, I'm in marketing, like we're creating the image, telling the story. They would literally come and hand me a blank bottle like this and say the pH balance is this. We wanted to say this, wanted to do that, and we create the storyline behind it. We fly in 35 different countries and make sure that everybody got the storyline correct, and they'd all get an opportunity to go on stage and perform and produce the storyline back to us about the products we were launching that time. So we were storytelling, we were creating products, we were doing imagery, video content, and we were the ones were the face of it. And so the team was, and so it was like, okay, this is what we're doing anyway. I mean, then why not have our own company and offer this as a service?
Okay. Well, what do you think about your journey so far? Like, what is one thing that's jumped out to you about this process?
the power of social media, and then also knowing where I was at globally, and
Hmm.
then realizing that I really when I got decided to get behind the camera, I kind of like missed that influencer opportunity.
Hmm.
Not that I wasn't, but it wasn't the same as it is today. And I
Right.
should have monetized that, but I never, I wasn't interested in that at the moment. And we've learned how to monetize influencers since then, but
Hmm.
and that's a whole different story there. But I just fell in love with the camera and being in front of it for so long, and then getting behind the lens and starting to develop content, educating people. And the company actually started as a coaching company, and
Okay.
then we were just getting so good at the camera work and the social media portion of it that we just flip flopped it. Pivoting as an entrepreneur, I would tell you, because we have three companies that we own, you have to pivot. You have to pivot with what's happening in the season at the time. Like right now, the big pivot, which everyone's like, "Oh, it's the future," and it's not the future. It's actually almost the not the past, but it's such the present right now is AI.
Right.
And that's been a most recent bang. Like, oh my God, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. I don't need a copywriter anymore. I don't need 20 editors anymore. I don't need, which is kind of sad in a sense, but at the same time, as the owner of the company, now you start to learn to monetize AI and use it in a very positive manner, in which we hope that everybody is using it in a positive manner.
Of course, of course. Speaking of AI, in my day-to-day life and in one of my things that I'm involved with, we've identified how people are actually using it to the detriment of themselves because they don't realize sometimes AI will make things so perfect and the person is not a reflection of what they've created, and then they get called out because they can't back up what was created for them based on the AI. And someone who's knowledgeable about the topic can point it out immediately. And we are discovering that in other areas of business. Let me ask you this. If you had to go back, was there one ad or one campaign or something that inspired you in the beginning?
You know, just it was the international experience and how people from other countries were reflecting on what we were doing. And I was
Hmm.
really blessed. I started cutting hair at 11 years old, and I hit the main stage, international stage, at 19. 53 right now. I just stopped touring last year. This is my first time not being on the road
Hmm.
because of AI, and I wanted to dive deeper into AI. But seeing the response from the international crowd, buying American, buying Western product, that was really impressive. And I'll give an example of that. And I want to say this in a really positive way because I don't want to take anybody to take this negative. But when we launched the Kardashian brand,
Hmm.
it was tough moving it in the United States, but they were the biggest and still are the biggest names in the industry. But when we got to Dubai, we were opening 7 countries a day.
Hmm.
People wanted that Western product,
Right.
and that is the thing where I realized, we're onto something. We're onto something bigger than we know on an international scale than just North America.
Right. Right. Speaking of other countries and overseas, I'm actually out of the country at the moment. I grew up out of the country and I've been to several countries. I'm curious, what would you say are some of the differences between building or building a brand or marketing in America as opposed to some of the other countries you've traveled to and worked in?
I don't know if you've experienced this in your industry, but you're gonna understand. You're gonna get what I'm saying here.
Okay.
When you have, like, for instance, we have a gentleman who is now the actual president of Palm Beach. His name's Jason Yates. Great guy. I was in the
Hmm.
room when we made the phone call to bring him from London into the United States. He came
Okay.
in, good looking man, had the accent. It just fits perfect for the industry. It didn't matter how smart I was when Jason started talking with that accent. He was like instantly the smarter hairdresser.
The focal point.
Yeah. So when I was overseas, I realized I'm the one with the accent. I'm the one now that is the focal point. And even when I speak Spanish, I have an accent different than it is in South America.
Me
And
too.
when I realized the accent, and then it's crazy because people are like, "You're from the United States?" I'm like, "I'm from Texas." And
Mhm.
when you say Texas, they get so excited because we're at the time Fruit Systems, it still is a Texas-based company. But
Mhm.
people get excited about that. But when I being international and realize that pivotal moment of realizing, wait a minute, I'm the one with the accent here, and I learned to monetize that and not be, because most people are like, they're over there and they're so fascinated with everybody else's accent, and we don't realize that, you coming in as the lead educator or the lead, performer, you're the one with the accent, and that's
Right.
kind of cool. But that was an aha moment for me.
Okay. Getting into this current company, Concepts Digital Marketing, how did it start? Like, what was it that was the spark that told you I have to build this?
Yeah, I was representing Fruit System G Company, and they were bringing on a bunch of new talent. And I was backstage filming and recording, live, doing the fashion colors and all this stuff, and people were watching me live. At the same
Mhm.
time, the management was trying to build these new guys up, which is great. You always have to have fresh artists and everything. But I was capturing more attention. More people were watching me live than they were following the larger magazines that were doing these interviews. And that was the aha moment where I'm like, wait a minute, here's like Modern Salon magazine, and I just hit like 30,000 people watching me, and they got like 16 or something. And so I
Yeah.
was accused at the moment, and I know they probably won't see it that way today, but at the moment I was accused of interfering with an algorithm that was like stopping their progression, when in actuality it was the creativeness and the audience that I was after was appreciating the live performance that was happening, and that's where the idea of like video came in, and that was it. I said, okay, we're going to start, and like I said, it started as a coaching company, and then we just got better and better at video, and then it became the social media video company, and we're fast, like we can deliver content really quickly.
Brilliant. What would you say was your first big win that made you think, yeah, we can really build this?
When I started signing hospitals for $3,000 to $5,000 a month, and picking up businesses. But not only that, seeing the impact, because all I ever asked for people, and still do to this day whenever they hire Concept Digital Marketing, is what's your bottom line right now? What's your company making? And let's talk in 90 days. And if I haven't moved that needle, 15, 20%, then what am I doing here? And so I put it all on the line. We trust the process. We trust the circle is what I call it,
Mhm.
combining SEO, SMO, and actually stimulating the GMB. That was another big aha on understanding the power of the actually the GBP. Sorry, they changed the name, which is a Google Business Profile. And so
Mhm.
our AI right now, we tie the SEO into the GBP and then stimulate that on a continuous basis, and that is it's pretty brilliant. And the way our AI also it'll index on like ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok. It's a really different monster, and so that's a it's been a great journey, and it's never stopping. That's the thing. You don't stop learning, and if you think you know everything, then you're done.
Right.
You know?
Let me, you mentioned something about that's really critical. I want to ask you about. You talked about when you bring on a new business, you ask them, hey, what are your numbers? What's your bottom line? And if you haven't moved that needle in 3 months, then you're questioning the efficacy of what your service is. One of the things I've written a small business book, and one of the things that I've always stressed to people is you've got to know your numbers, whatever they are, in every aspect of your business. You've got to know your numbers. But I found in speaking with lots of small business people, and I'm curious about your experience, where sometimes they don't know their numbers and they're thinking about, they confuse popularity and likes and shares with success, and they can't ever equate that to a dollar amount. So when someone says to me, for example, yeah, I've got 20,000 likes and I've got 10,000 followers, I always say, well, how much does each follower bring you? And it's crickets. They can't answer the question. So my question to you is, if someone came to you and they wanted to hire you because they're thinking, oh, we're just going to get a bunch of content, we're just going to get a lot of shares and a lot of notoriety. If that's their focus, where you seem to be very strategic, where your focus is, no, let me build your business. How does that conversation go? How do you try to switch their paradigm?
I just say it out loud, and you're absolutely correct. Most, and this is the wildest thing ever. I mean, if as an entrepreneur, you have to be a mathematician. You have to be calculated. You have to be absorbing what's going on around you, whether it be trends, and so when I do find someone that doesn't know anything, like they're looking just for that popularity or that to be seen more, that content, we switch it back around because the main purpose, is and that's a big word for me. Purpose is a big word for me because we are purpose, and purposeful, and then we're also very driven to the certain point, to where we're like, okay, great, people are starting to recognize you and see you on social, but are you getting busier? Are you making more money? That's why I'm here. If you want to just be popular, then I'll just do I can do a campaign that's just going to have you just being seen. But we learned something also is by doing what's called a bounce rate. All right. And what some people will call it like A/B testing. We
Hmm.
were able to prove when the clientele where they're coming from. So let's say, for instance, let's just say we were, let's just use Houston because it's just down the street for me. We do an ad and we just say, you're an emergency hospital system or one of the doctors that we're representing. And then, for instance, we do a rate where we're like a 30-mile radius, and then we do a 60-mile radius, and we do those two ads as an A/B testing. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing people driving 40 minutes to come see you. Driving, you're like, okay, so this is working. They're not just getting the neighborhood people that are 15 minutes down the road, but I have people that we built this trust factor into the community that they're willing to drive halfway across Houston to come and see me for my, I'll give an example, like Dr. Kevin Smith, he's has a cure, an actual cure for migraines. And it was like,
Okay.
we wanted to get it on a national scale, but I said, Doc, like, are we trying to just build popularity or get this place really busy? And
Right.
we get the place really busy. We did the bounce rate, and then every now and then we'll do national campaign for him, or international. And so, but at the end of the day, we needed the office door to people just to be coming in and booking appointments and wanting to be cured. And we recorded tons of testimonies, and so he saw the needle move, and it was fun to watch.
Joe, so let me ask you, you mentioned using AI earlier, and I'm curious, how have you implemented that into the agency and what have you seen as the net benefit for clients, like that doctor, for example?
Oh, the AI process is just absolutely crazy. Like for instance, on the SEO portion of it, with the AI that we're implementing, the automatic influence that it gives you, and
Hmm.
and also the way it talks through the SEO, creating the article backlinks, suggestions, things that would take an average person like weeks to set up, we can do it in minutes now. And then
Okay.
the ability to tie that same AI into the GBP is extremely powerful because people's attention span since COVID, a lot of people don't even get to the site anymore. They find social trust in the GBP. They go, oh, we have
Right.
5 stars. Let's see what people said about them. Oh, book an appointment or directions or reserve the table or whatever it might be, or skip the line for the doctors. We made a landing page one time called "Skip the Line," and that was powerful. But the AI really saves tons and tons of hours and manpower as far as like you know even with the like I said, the SEO portion, the suggestions, the link clicks, everything that it's asking you to do, the schema markups and meta tags. I mean, it's amazing. It just kind of just does it for you. It gives us like a task every morning. So for every
Hmm.
client, say you have 50 clients, you just kind of go down the list, and you do the 2 or 3, sometimes 4 tasks, and a lot of it is just like update this, and they'll say, "Do you want?" It'll be like the AI says, "Do you want me to update it for you?" And then we'll just yes, and then it allows us to correct or change the AI suggestion if it's something that we're not happy with. But 99% of the time, I'm going to say 99 because nothing's perfect. It's pretty spot on, and
You're right.
so that allows us to scale with a smaller team.
Right. It's that's very interesting and something I want to point out. And for people listening, that's trying to use AI in the business, there's two key things that you say that you just said that I want them to be aware of. You know that it's right. See, what people
Mhm.
don't realize is AI can be used to make you better, to your agency to scale better with and stay lean. What they don't understand is if you know nothing about the topic, you don't know whether or not the answer is correct. And that's the part that people, I think people miss with AI. I'm a big comic book fan. And yeah, I call them comic books because I'm old and we called them comic books when I was a child. I don't call them graphic novels, but I'm a big comic book
Are they called
fan.
are the kids trying to call them graphic novels now?
Yeah, that's what they call my son. He's 13. He's like, Dad, it's a graphic novel. I said it's a comic book. But anyway, I'm a big Marvel fan, and what I tell people is think about the new movies, Iron Man, and think about Tony with Jarvis. That's his AI, but nobody questions whether or not Jarvis can replace him because Tony knows what Jarvis knows. But Jarvis is just doing everything by the direction. So that's what I hear with you. You're using your AI to do what you know to do, saving you the time and the effort and how fast you're able to scale. And that's the part I think people need to not miss with AI, you know?
Yep, that's absolutely right. You were kind of lagging a little bit right there, but I heard everything you said. And you're right. You're right. That's and one of the things that grabs me right now is the word fear, and that's where people are. They're those are the ones that don't get it, because they're scared of it already, and they don't even know what it is. They don't know that they can help you. It can streamline a company. It can literally, and I hate to say this, but like just make you a lot leaner and meaner because you have a lot more capability and your bandwidth is much larger and stronger, because of the fact that you're implementing it properly. And one of the things that a lot of people don't get also is the AI stacking. This is where things get really fun. We can start stacking different components and, say for instance, I need a video component, but now I need to have a separate stack that's going to be the voice component. And then what about the tone component? And then is it going to be a what language is it going to be in? So, then you can start stacking. And then we also do something called website scraping, or we will scrape the website. And if you have a strong content on your website, it'll generate really great content that we can actually match with a stack with an avatar and then deliver a strong message. So from a business perspective, like for instance, you're very busy, you're on the go, but you don't have time to be in front of the camera every day recording content. I don't need you to. I'm going to record you 3 or 4 times in 2 or 3 different outfits, and your avatar is going to be doing all the talking from now on with your voice. And if you want it to be exciting, it'll sound exciting. If you want it to be in Spanish, it'll be in Spanish. If you want it German, it'll be in German, and it'll match perfectly. So a lot of the business owners that we represent really like that component. We actually create avatars of our clients, and they're doing the commercials, and nobody knows it's not them.
Talk a bit more about that because in preparing to talk to you, I went on your social media and I saw that you had a video where you started talking and it was you, and then right next to you it was you, and you were saying in the video, well, that's not really me, that's the avatar of me that I created. And I thought, wait a minute, like, is that what you're talking about specifically?
That's one of the components. That's
One of
the
the
avatar. Yeah, the avatar component. And the voice is now way better. That was months ago that when we
Yeah.
did that one. I actually, in presentations, I show that last to show how far we've come, and a lot of times and I tell them, like, because I demonstrate the company through video because we are a video company. And I found a
Right.
way to present the invisible stuff, and which is SEO, GBP, SMO. And so, you get into a room with people and it kind of throws them off. You're throwing all these acronyms out. But yes, so the avatars then, after it's created, the voice is then generated. In my case, it's my voice. That one was it's funny. I would love everybody to watch that one. It's fun. It's our first one. And, we've gotten so much better at it. And right now we have, I think, at our fingertips about 3,000 avatars, depending on the niche of the company. Like there's a lawyer that we just represented, and so we picked a girl, and we they didn't have a very strong website, so when we scraped the website, we had to AI generate the background of the avatar, and create the avatar, and then match it to the voice and tone. And then, of course, if you want to accent, if you want to, whatever you want it to be, and we'll stack all those components together. And then your aspect ratio of how what is it going to be on Twitter? Is it going to be on Facebook, Instagram? Where are you going to put this on YouTube? So then, through the AI, we stack that aspect ratio into there also, so that the AI will conform to that platform.
Whatever medium it's going to go on.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
I can take it, like, for instance, we have one that allows me to post on all of them at once, and the AI will adjust the content based on where it's going. Not only that, the AI will tell you where the money is being spent properly, and it'll start shooting it that way, and not, you're just not throwing it out there and going, oh my God, just put $1,000 on this ad. We're going to make money on this, and then it gets
you don't
lost
know.
everywhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned 3,000 avatars, all the different companies you've worked with over the years. If you had to pick one campaign that you've done that you would say this really represents what, CDM is all about, what would that one be? Or is there even one?
That's a tough one. Yeah, because we've been doing this for a minute, and so there's a lot of them. I
Well, let me ask you it this way. When you're going in to make that pitch to a new company, obviously the goal is to put your best foot forward, right?
Mhm.
Which ones is included in that campaign? Because you're not going to show them 3,000. So which ones would be included for you to really show this is what we can do? Or is it really customized to that pitch?
Absolutely. The first thing we show them is the SEO portion, and we show them the ranking. And this particular video was created when we were helping and working alongside the Navajo tribe out of Arizona, and so they're opening an addiction clinic, and so they needed some SEO and some social media optimization also. So we did it live, and what we did is we recorded our process as we were doing it, and then shortened it into like a 1 minute video where I can sit in front of somebody and they're like, and the star power comes by the fact that it's the client, saying the Navajo tribe, it's large. It's what, 540 recognized tribal lands in the United States. And so
Mm-hmm.
that, you're going with star power. I mean, like, if, and so then that alongside the development and the visual that we're showing the invisible SEO in action, and then showing how the AI is literally generating everything as it's happening right in front of you. And we have it spaced out just enough. I'll send you the video. You'll love it. And it has it spaced out just perfectly to where the client gets it, sees it, hears it, and then they see like, I think they were at a 15 when we started, and then it shows them at 100% rate at the end. And it moved the needle then, within a couple of days, like within, seriously, it's almost unheard of. People who sell SEO always tell you we're looking at 6 months to a year to move this needle, and that's not
Not anymore. Yeah.
And the next video we show is and it's an AI voice, but it's the back end of Meta, and we show the placement. Give an example. We have a bar that we represent that used to be a really strong like biker bar, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of motorcycles, tough guys in there, and we for the past 5 years have only marketed towards girls. And now you'll see nothing but women in there now. Because I realized, okay, first of all, it's a bar, and girls like girls and boys like girls. So fill it up with girls, and then now at any given moment, you can walk in this, what used to be a biker bar now is like the hot spot for everyone to come and have a drink in town, and so just getting out of the box and thinking differently, and trying to be creative and then utilizing the what's available to us, which is now literally changing. Social media used to change like every 15 days with Meta, and you always had to keep up with those little updates.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're almost at a 24-hour mark when it comes to AI. And then you have to make that decision today. Whoa, that's really cool. Do we drop what we're doing and switch to that? Or do we try
Mm-hmm.
to find this other platform that's got a little bit of everything in it? And that's the judgment call that comes down to the agency and how well you're going to perform and how well you really understand AI. Because you can't just take the first cool thing that comes. It might not apply to the full picture.
Right.
It might help one of the components, but we really have a full circle running with SEO over here, SMO, social media over here, GMB, and there's video in the middle shooting in all directions. And so that's where our strength is coming in, and just identifying the pain point, number one,
Mm-hmm.
and then applying the AI properly and making sure we're choosing the right platform to apply it to.
Speaking about you from a personal perspective, what would you say are some of the hardest lessons or growing pains that you had to like get through as you evolved as the CEO and founder of the company?
people's like just not understanding what you're doing,
Hmm.
and what I do, and I suggest other agencies do this also because I think it's a very strong tool. We email definitions of all the acronyms that I'm going to be saying in the meeting before I get there. And
Okay.
then we turn everything. I realized a very close friend of mine owns a large hair extension company, and I helped him launch a product line a couple times. And I called him. I was like, "Oh, Chris, man, you got to see this. You got to see this." He goes, "Why, Joe Anthony, would I stop buying steak from California when I love it so much? And what makes your steak different?" And I was like, "You know what? We're going to make a video. We're going to explain it to you
Right.
in actual visual content." And he got it at the end, and he loved it. But and I actually used his website with a scrape and a stack, and showed how it wasn't monetized properly. And so that's a big one.
What do most companies get wrong about digital marketing and branding? Like, what's some of the most common mistakes you see when you go into a brand to pitch them on what your services can do for them?
You just said it. The brand. Who are you? Like, do you have a font? Do you have a color? Do you have what do you believe in? What's your mission statement? Like, what am I going to put on your GBP? Like, how am I going to like influence that? Like, and I'll give a really just a really small example of this. There is a restaurant downtown, and it's a Mexican restaurant that just opened. It's a really cool place. It's very swanky. And he calls me one day, and he's like, "Why am I not showing up when I look up downtown bars?" So I said, "Give me a second." I have like three computers in front of me, and I'm like typing and typing and typing. I'm looking. I go, "Well, I can tell you this: nowhere on anywhere, including the website and the GVP and the social media, does it say the word bar. That you are bar and grill. It doesn't say that. All you are is a restaurant right now. So if you want to index as bar, that's got to be a key word that's implemented towards the SEO, the SMO, and on the GVP." And
Hmm.
so after that, I don't even know, it was like less than a week. He was indexing everywhere. You look up bar now, he shows up. But he wasn't, when we first started, he was more concerned about the quality of his food, the pictures, the videos, all that kind of stuff, the drone shots, loved all that. And then he realized that he has an amazing bar there too. It's actually one of the focal points of the restaurant. And,
Right.
and so after him realizing that he wasn't indexing, it was easy. We just went in and put bar and grill everywhere, so people knew it's a downtown bar and grill, Mexican, bar and grill. And
Got
so,
it.
yeah, those
So,
just
so,
realizing those key points is important.
so it's obviously digital marketing. We're obviously in a digital age. We're in the AI age. How do you maintain that human and personal authenticity within the marketing for you, your company, and also for your clients?
Communication is everything. I call them, we talk, we set up meetings. Um, I don't just have a dashboard that I could put any number on. I bring the actual analytics from the background and sit in person, go over it with them. If it's a client that's not in our state, we do Zoom calls, of course, and we're doing the same thing like as if we're doing it right now. I'd be showing analytics, showing you where you're at, where we started, the movement we've had, go over your numbers, what are they looking like, and just being involved just being involved, shooting a text every now and then. "Hey, did you see that last video we put out? What do you think?" It's indexing well. It's doing great for you, and just really asking the questions and talking to them. And sometimes you wouldn't believe it, but I'm on the phone till 1 or 2 in the morning because we are a concierge company. So if you're the CEO of a company and it's 11:30 and you call me, I'm going to answer my phone. And I think a lot of CEOs don't have any friends, when the truth. When you get to the hierarchy of a large company, you really can't talk. You don't have a lot of people you can talk to. You think you trust someone. As soon as you walk out the door, they're running over here and go, "Oh my God, did you know?" So I think just answering the phone, keeping in touch with them, making sure that they're feeling the value added to what's happening, the money they're spending, the ROI, the return on their investment is big. That's the main thing, I think, is like what we're looking for from day one. And then find the pain points and monetizing it.
Let me ask you this. You've been doing it for a long time. So you were doing it before, as far as marketing, you were doing it before it was so, digital and AI driven. and now doing it in this really digital AI age. Have you seen a difference in the efficacy of the marketing from when it was more, I would say, more human based as opposed to now more electronic based? Have you seen any difference or negative impact? Because the general consensus seems to be in the public where people are sort of turned off by all the AI and digital stuff. But I wonder if that's just talk and people are actually responding to it and not any, they don't even know.
I tell you, this is the craziest example, but like I remember when photo shoots were photo shoots, and it
Right.
all had to be perfect. It
Mm-hmm.
had to be perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and that shot was a shot. They might be able to color grade it or something, but there was no,
Nothing you could
AI,
do.
change the hair
Yeah.
color or the outfit or
Yeah.
make the boobs bigger or her legs longer. That didn't exist. So, coming from that age, I'm telling my age now. I remember the days when we didn't have that, and I remember the first time sitting in the editing room and going over these content, and Shaka Gulamani pulls out. This new software he had just found, and he was like cleaning up. And he kept telling me at the photo shoot, "Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that." When Zenon, who trained me, was perfect, and it had to be perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was still locked in that. And Shaka was like, "Don't worry about that." And then when we finally got to the editing room, and he starts erasing wrinkles and taking the hairlines and changing the clothing, and I mean, what just happened? And so now going from that to just generating an image because I prompted Gemini or ChatGPT, and now I have this image, that I didn't even have to go take. I didn't have to pull my camera out. I didn't have to show up on location. I create the image. We send it to the client. How does this match in line with your brand that you're doing? And they're like, love it, great, post it. Or even the video
Yeah.
content. And we take we do ad clips where we take a lot of still shots and turn them into moving objects also. And so it has to move on social. If it's not
Yes.
moving, they're not going to stop. They're going this fast. And another pivotal moment is understanding, like, when I remember growing up, you had to hear a business name 5 to 7 times to remember it. And I think the last time we checked was it wasn't this January, it was last January, and the number was 98 times. So somebody has to see you 98 times before they stop. They're going to stop
Mm-hmm.
more likely if it's moving and if it has some kind of clickbait to it or something, and so that's been some aha moments, is just realizing that people are really locked in now. They're locked in more than ever. I mean, ever since COVID, it's like you see somebody lose their phone, they can lose their kid and then be like, oh, he'll be all right. Lose their phone, they're going crazy, man.
Yeah. So you guys are obviously on the cutting edge with all the technology and whatnot. I'm curious, where do you see digital marketing going, or what trends have you recognized lately?
I think one of the coolest trends, and I haven't quite dove into it yet, but I want to. And so we're once again every day watching the new software come out, seeing how we can identify it, where does it fit. But going after lost leads, let's say for instance, I'm going to use this because in the educational portion, in this particular model, they use solar a lot. And so let's say I call a major solar company, and I say, listen, um, what are you doing with your lost leads? And like, I mean, these are leads that have been called, they've been emailed, they've had drip campaigns, they've had bots on them, they've been all this stuff. And then you just tell them, hey, listen, I'll take those leads and convert them into sales for 50% of what the revenue. And like, it's either like this, 50% of something or zero of zero, And
Right.
so this is the model that I'm actually very interested in right now. We haven't, we haven't quite, there's stuff out there, but I'm not. It's so new that I'm not. I don't always, it's not always great to be first. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's okay to let everybody else make the mistakes or even advertise it for you before you even bring it out. And
Hmm.
so that's something that's very very interesting. I'm very intrigued in that aspect because they're dead leads, and I'm not
Right.
coming in trying to find you new people. I'm going to take those people that you already called, you already educated, you've already poked the bear. Now I'm going to come back with a different offer, and then if we hook, then we just split the revenue you know
Right.
so
Right.
I have a few people I've talked to that have done crazy numbers with that model. And I'm still, they were not, you know, just like I give a little bit as much as possible without, you know, giving out, spilling the sauce. They did the same thing to me. So it was just enough to get me intrigued, but not
Right.
enough to get started. But we're not far from it. I'm looking and waiting for the correct software it's coming. You know, if not, then we'll make it, you know?
You could probably use AI to make it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not lying about that. The coding now, it's crazy now. You almost, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's one of the moving things that got me was one of my assistants. Her boyfriend's extremely intelligent, A&M graduate, and coming out with his computer science degree, he had to have a second element to it, you know, to get hired somewhere. Because I think the number this past graduates from May in 2025 was 4.8% of corporate entry level jobs disappeared just because of AI.
Hmm.
So you have to have a second element. So I told my kids, when you go into school, make sure that job exists when you get out, you know? And I think that's something a lot of parents need to pay attention to right now. I even have a friend who's not even going to put her kid in school because she's like, why? We're gonna AI, you know, let AI teach her, and they, you know, created these, you know, plans, and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of education out there now, and it's all AI driven. It's pretty massive, and so there's a big shift in society, man. It's shifting the whole mindset of people, and that's the interesting part. You know, when we talked about fear, there's also those excited people who are like, oh, I'll just do it this way, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, with my son, he's 13. I have this agreement with him. No matter how much he fights me on it, when he's 17, he's going to apprentice. I said, you're going to pick a trade. I don't care what it is. You're going to pick machinist, plumbing, carpentry, electrician, HVAC. You're going to pick a trade, and I will fund that apprenticeship. You're going to learn a trade before you go to college. Because you know who's not ever unemployed? A plumber, a machinist. Because guess what? You can't use the people, you know, you need those people no matter what's going on in
You need
society
hands to
to
do it.
build things. And I said, then you'll go to college because then you'll get the theory, and maybe you'll start a business in one of those, and be able to eat no matter what. No matter where you are in the world, if you've got a trade, you won't suffer. For example, you know, hairdresser, that's a trade. You know, people may think but it's literally a trade. It's a literal skill that we need. So I have that agreement with him. So I agree with you completely when you talk about him having to have something else, because you know, without it, we're just going to be surpassed.
You know,
We're
and
just going to be
I still do
surpassed.
hair a couple of days a week. You know, we did with 14 stylists on commission based. We did just under $1 million this year, and I'll go in there
I,
and do Q12s, take care of my people I want to, just because it's like hard to transition out of that. You know,
I believe it.
and it's
I believe it, and it's
instantaneous. I work, I get paid right now. I don't do the job and then bill you and then worry about when the check's coming. You know,
exactly,
but back
exactly.
to the
My
plumber thing. Check this out.
yeah.
We were with Hopscotch Children's Urgent Care.
Hmm.
Jimmy Peña is actually the chief of staff there, and we were driving in the car, and he's like, "Man, I've got to get this toilet fixed at the clinic," and I'm like, I'm call a plumber, and the
No problem.
plumbers in San Antonio. Check this out. $250 to take the call. It doesn't mean they're going to do the job.
They just want to. That's what they get to come evaluate
To
what the
answer
problem
the
is.
phone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or mechanics. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people don't realize how much tradesmen actually make. You know, we live in a world where everybody wants to be a YouTuber, an influencer, and whatnot. But people underestimate how important tradesmen are needed in society and how many jobs there actually are, and the opportunities there. Speaking of that, and getting back to what we were talking about, what inspires you to keep creating and to keep leading and building this company? Where do you get the inspiration from?
I think right now it's just the wild, wild west is inspiring because it's like you're never left with zero. Every morning I wake up and you can ask my main director Emiliano. I'll just start texting him all this new software that just came out before he's probably not even awake yet. Just sitting and and he's like, oh my god, this is crazy. What are we gonna do? I go, let's just see where it's going. Let's see how we can stack it or adapt it or if we even need it. Is it
Right.
actually better? So that's been it's overwhelming in a sense, because you really have to pay attention. Like I mentioned earlier, does it fit our business model? Is it going to help the clientele base that we're chasing? And is it going to benefit the company? And that's the driving force right now. And just the fact that I love to work. I'm a machine. I love to work. At one point, for 28 years, I was on the road, flying around the world, 30 weekends a year, flying home, working 312s, and flying back out. And I just never not, like, so I've always had two, three incomes. I remember as a child, I was 11, 12 years old. I started charging $2 for haircuts in the neighborhood. And then, about 15 years old, minimum wage was 3.85. I was charging $5 for a haircut, and I could do 3 to 4 boys in an hour. And so I was doing
Mm.
15, $20 an hour at 15, And so it's just finding different creative ways to make money. That's the fun part about it. How can we make money differently? Well, that's where the AI has been very special too, is because we're making money differently now. So it's a different way. We're not just out there editing and videoing for hours and hours and hours. We're coming in, we're applying the content. We organize it in a certain way, match it up with music, and put some text in there, logos, and then we're pretty much wrapping things up in like 15 minutes, and
Right, right.
not 6, 7 hours.
Joe, let me ask you this from a personal level, because we're like the same age, and I'm hearing all the different things that you're involved in, and I have a similar sort of situation where I'm obviously doing this podcast because I like talking to people like you and telling their stories and getting it out there, because I really do feel we all can benefit from learning from each other's experiences. But I
Absolutely.
do have my career, I'm in HR, I'm in talent acquisition, and I love it, and I don't want to stop doing that. Has it been a challenge for you as an entrepreneur to focus? Like, for example, like choose, like, or do you have to do so many things? Because I'm finding that as my challenge. I don't want to stop the different things I'm doing. I enjoy them, they pay me, and they fulfill a part of my personality. So I wonder for you, as the CEO and founder of CDM, and having all the salons and all the other businesses that you alluded to, is that hard? How do you manage that mentally?
Teams, people. You find good people. Like I mentioned Emiliano a few minutes ago, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be open right now. It's just it's teams, it's people, and then the salon. We have some great stylists over there, but we train them. I have a systematic approach. And so systems and the right people is what matters. Like I always tell people when I'm training them, like they have to learn a system. Like you're never going to go to McDonald's and get 4 pickles. There's going to only be three, because that
Right.
manager went to hamburger college and they know that you're only going to put 3 pickles on the burger. And so the systematic approach, the people, the process, the right equipment matters. Having given the team the strongest equipment that's necessary. Whether it be an AI component or $1,000 pair of cutting shears, or whatever it might be. Um, I think giving people the right equipment, making sure that everybody's okay. You have to talk to your people. Don't just ignore them. And then communicate, communicate, communicate. That's what it's all about. Yeah, communication. And then we've had it to where like with the salon, I'm only there a couple of days a week, and then sometimes I'm not there at all. But we've trained the staff so well that the bank is still clicking. And then with concepts digital marketing, having a strong leader like Emiliano, and leading a team, it's like it it's fun to watch and be a part of. You know, I find I'm the one learning now. They're teaching me stuff, and so it's fun. It's fun to watch, but it's definitely intentional and purpose driven.
A few more questions as we wrap up, Joe. And thank you for doing this so far. What was one of the biggest mindset shifts that you had to make as the owner of the company, the CEO, the founder?
Letting people go.
Mm,
That not I mean, we literally, you just have to look at the value of what everyone's bringing to the table. And I'm not one of those guys that run around with this chart saying, "Oh, your performance level is this or that." It's just I don't want somebody that is here because it's just a job. I want them to like it. I want them to have fun with it. I want them to be creative with it. I like people who are not scared. I don't like to hear the word no.
Hmm.
I'd like to hear like, man, we've tried everything. We can't get this done. Okay, we put something into it. Let's tweak it a little bit. Let's figure out how to make it work. But don't just say, no, man, that looks crazy. That looks hard. Of course, it's going to be hard. Life isn't easy.
Right.
Why would the whole process? We make it easy with the process and the system. But at the same time, you know, challenge yourself, challenge the team, and then challenge yourself. And the people see that, they recognize it, and then now, like I told everybody this morning, we had a meeting, and I'm like, now, how many accounts do we need to have that new car? How many accounts do we need to have that new house? I mean, like, let's look at it that way, and get a little more purpose driven, moving that way. Like now, let's get more goal oriented. So it shows that you're involved, you're communicating, and you're a part of the group. Not just walking in, you know, picking up the bag or whatever, hitting the POS system and walking out. And so yeah, it's just being a part of the team. If you're gonna have a team, you have to be a part of the team. You can't. People say you lead a team. Yeah, you do, but you have to be a part of that team to lead it.
Right. Right. Joe, where can people connect with you, learn more about Concepts Digital Marketing if they wanted to hire your company or collaborate?
Yeah, conceptsdigitalmarketing.com. They can find us there. There's a info at conceptsdigitalmarketing.com, and it comes straight to our emails. You can email me at joeanthony@conceptsdigitalmarketing.com directly. That's how you and I met.
Exactly.
And so, we do check every email that comes in. I don't ignore anything, and I take a lot of meetings. That's another thing. I know sometimes my team's like, "Why are you taking this meeting?" I go, you never know. We might learn something here. Someone's going to teach you something. These people are from another country, or they're at the big house in New York or something. And I'm like, we just want to listen. Maybe we just collaborate. And I love the word you said, collaborate, because that's a big one. I like working with other teams too. And sometimes we come in and we're handling maybe the video component or the AI component, and they're handling something else of it. And so I like collaboration with other agencies, I always, whenever I meet another agency owner, I always said, man, you never know the possibilities if we were working together. We're not in competition. We're actually can make each other stronger if we saw each other's strengths and said, hey, I'll do this and you do that. And cool, let's make money together.
Right. And finally, if you had to summarize your philosophy on life and business in one sentence, what would it be?
That's a hard one. I would say love, laugh, and this is just me talking like my family, my teams, my wife, dance, be silly, just smile, have fun. I mean, laughter, just serotonin is such an infectious thing. Like when we came on, I mean, I was like, my God, look at you had this amazing, beautiful smile going on. Just immediately, it was infectious and made me smile. And so that's something that I wish a lot of people saw and felt a little stronger about, and it's okay to get out there and act silly. And
Yeah,
there's
of
no such
course.
thing as being embarrassed, you're never embarrassed, and so just live your life.
Joe, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I wish you the best of luck with your company and everything, and I'm sure we'll meet again in the future somehow.
Oh, I'd love to visit with you again whenever. Just let me know. We'll jump on.
I will. All
Have a
right.
very
Thank you, Joe.
blessed day and enjoy your family. And have a blessed one. Thank you so much.
You as well. Cheers.
Appreciate it.